You're watching The Mom View, sponsored by the Herzog Foundation. The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. That quote, most often attributed to Gandhi, speaks loudly to any nation that thinks as we do in the United States, that we are a good and even a great nation. Today, we're going to learn some shocking truths about state-run child protective services. Don't be fooled by the word protective. States are often ignoring parental rights and ripping children out of loving homes. They weren't taken for protection. They were taken for profit. And we all need to wake up to this tragic reality. Today, that's what we're going to talk about on The Mom View. Welcome to The Mom View. I'm Kimberly Fletcher.
And I'm Debbie Krolitis.
And I'm Vanessa Four.
And we have some really great guests today to talk about a very important topic. The kidnapping of our children. That sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Wow. I mean, when you talk about child protective services, I mean, that intro it's tough because we know so many moms have been affected by this situation unfairly, clearly. And it's really a number one concern of moms because it's always C.P.S. is going to come.
Yeah, we have C.P.S. fear. I think we just live under constant fear. Yeah. Somebody's going to not like the fact that our children are doing something in the front yard or the backyard or whatever, or a doctor doesn't like the decision that you've made. Whatever it is, it's the school. I mean, it's like everybody's against us now, you know?
Yeah, we as Americans claim that we live in a free country, and little do we know that that is not necessarily the case when we're being targeted as parents, when our children are going to be paying the price for what's happening. And, you know, we've learned so much about, even with DOJ, about all the corruption happening nationwide, and it starts in our own communities, in our own homes. And this is a great topic to cover.
Yeah. It just feels like everybody's against us. You guys ever feel like that? Like radioactive fireflies you wake up to every morning with a holy fly swatter. I mean, a fly swatter with holes. And you're like trying to, I mean, it just feels like it. It's everywhere. So if we're feeling that, then the moms out there have got to feel that too. And I'm hoping this show is going to give us all a little bit of comfort and encouragement to know how we can protect our children.
I think when we think about the government overreach on parental rights and how the lines that they have crossed boldly into every one of our homes across America. We all know someone that's been affected by C.P.S. or by an overreaching government or a teacher, or the whole system is like, you can't parent your kids, I'm going to. And that is the big problem.
Yeah, I think the best thing that we can do is support each other and not assume that we know better than some other mom. That would be the thing I hope we get from this show. How can we support each other when everybody else is going against us?
Yeah. Yes, and this is terrifying, and it should terrify every parent out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So coming up, a medical misdiagnosis, a teacher you disagree with, and even a broken air conditioner can result in your beloved child being removed from your home. An advocate who spent decades practicing family law is determined to help reform the child welfare system. Right after this break.
The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education so that families and culture flourish. To do so, we've created comprehensive programs designed for Christian schools across the nation. One of those programs is found at readlion.com. The Lion carries news articles covering issues especially related to the education of children. These are timely, critical, must-read articles for families, educators, and leaders. Another program is the Herzog Foundation Institute, where we provide training for Christian educators led by national thought leaders in subjects such as marketing, donor development, and culture building. All training events are fully funded by the Herzog Foundation. And finally, with new Christian schools popping up all over the country, we've created a free online resource to help with the process. HF Schoolbox provides lessons and free mentorship to help launch groups navigate the startup process every step of the way. We're the Herzog Foundation. You can find out more at herzogfoundation.com.
There is power in being a mom because we truly care. Nobody's going to care more about your children than you. And that's what this group is about, is real women getting together to fight real battles for our country.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
And I will tell you, I'm a journalist, but I am a mama bear. And I am a mama bear till the last breath in my body. And that's the most important thing I've ever done with my life.
Never, never underestimate the mother who's protecting her child. She will outfight fear. She will outlast danger. And she will outlove the world. And you surely do not mess with Mama Bear.
You can't push anything on our kids. We will stand up for our kids no matter what the consequences may be.
Moms for America is one of the most important organizations in saving our republic.
There are eyes, there are ears, and they're the most fierce fighters for our kids that we will ever know.
Every mission has two parts, those who give and those who do. And when we come together, we are stronger together in fulfilling that mission. An investment in Moms for America is an investment in the future. And we literally hold the future of America in our hands.
Connie Reguli became an attorney at 40 after leaving her first profession in the restaurant industry. She then spent decades in private practice defending the rights of parents, families, and children against intrusive interference of government entities. Now, she has formed the Family Forward Project on Facebook, where she is an advocate and activist pushing for transparency and change in the child welfare arena. Connie, it is so good to have you on the Mom View.
Welcome, Connie.
Well, thank you. And thank you for everything you guys do to just really bring awareness. It's such a struggle these days to really have your voice heard. And listen, I started being an activist before it was cool back in 2008. So I'm extremely appreciative.
Yeah. So I've been on the front lines of freedom since 2004. Started Moms for America largely because of experiences that I had with this very topic, and very extremely concerned about how much control that the government has, how C.P.S, Child Protective Services, has been weaponized to a degree that is obscene and needs to be stopped. And I just don't think that most parents understand the threat, but what they do know is that they are terrified to let their kids be out in front or be seen in the public because they're afraid of somebody calling CPS for whatever infraction that they decide that they've committed.
Yeah. Well, you know, the government takes 250,000 children a year and removes them from their families. And I tell people, I went back, I pulled all the actual official stats all, for the last 20 years, all the way back to 2004, 250,000 a year, year after year after year after year. And if you think about the lifetime of your child of 18 years, that's 5.5 million children. And the population of children in the United States is somewhere around 50, 60 million. So that's almost 1 out of 10 children that within your child's lifetime is going to be removed from their family.
Wow.
Now, some may say, well, these children were, you know, in a harmful situation. And I think most moms, I mean, we worry about it, but then there's also the, you know, the other side of it, like maybe they were in need of someone to come in and rescue them.
Well, I would like for people to understand that 85% of the children that are removed under a category, an undefined category called neglect. Okay, so only about 15% are in the national statistics are under physical or sexual abuse. Okay. And so under neglect, we do have a huge problem with substance abuse in America, and a lot of times we have families that lose their children because of substance abuse, about 1/3, which again is really saddening to me because you know, there are a lot of people out there in this world that is like, well, you know, my dad was an alcoholic or my mother was an alcoholic, but I stayed in my family, right? I was able to, my mother recovered. I mean, addiction is really bad, and you can't really care and for a child and protect them if you're having addiction to drugs, but you can recover, right? And when you look at the termination of parental rights, that is a family death sentence. And we are rehoming these children, we're giving them new identities. I call it generational genocide.
Well, when my parents were foster parents back in the 70s, and everything was about reunification.
Absolutely.
And now it's about kidnapping, government-funded kidnapping.
Well, I am so glad you brought that up because, I went back to school and became a lawyer in my 40s.
Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had already, my family had a restaurant. My mother was an entrepreneur. She had this fantastic restaurant. And I was just kind of like, there's too many cooks in the stew around here. It was me, my mom, my brothers, right? I just needed to reach out and do something different. And I went to law school and I thought, well, I'm smart. I like people. I like working with people. This should be a breeze for me, right? And then I got involved with families involved with C.P.S. First, I prosecuted. My very first case was the death of a baby, and I got a guy convicted for that. And then I really God just starts handing you things. I'm still trying to unwind that, like, why did God do this to me? But started just handing you these cases, these C.P.S. cases that were involved. Well, back then, back in the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, called CAPTA, passed in 1974, and that was really when we started funneling the monetization of the foster care system. Yeah. And so by the time I started practicing law in the early 1990s, to be honest, the states lost children. They didn't even know where they were. We didn't have laptop computers. Every child was a file folder in somebody's desk, right?
Wow.
And so children were literally lost in the system and disappeared, literally disappeared. And so when in the 90s, when I came in, when I saw ASFA, the Adoption and Safe Families Act, passed in 1997 under the Clinton administration, I actually thought this is a great idea because these children who are lost in the system can now be placed in homes and adopted, and the states got a bonus check for it. Which, I mean, even then, when I saw it happening, I thought, well, okay, because these state agencies are slacking, right? So maybe if we throw them a little bit of change, maybe they'll do the right thing. Well, what happened over the years is that became an incentive to rehome children.
Yeah, so the whole plan was to get them out of the system and adopted into loving homes, and it did exactly the opposite. Yeah. It's now stealing them from loving homes and putting them in who knows where. And I know I've had several moms that I know personally who have had their children taken from them. They have been sexually abused, they have been neglected, they have been physically abused. And I'm not saying that happens in every case. Of course not. Not every foster parent is an abuser. But the fact is, no one's going to love your children as much as you.
Right. Yeah. And the children's not going to love a parent as much as that biological parent if they had any type of attachment at all. Right. Now, I'm not against adoption. I have adopted children. My children came from Russia in the 90s. Oh. And so I call them the perestroika children because it was right during all that chaos that was happening in Russia. And I love them. I love them very much. And I am proud of people who do adoption. But what the Adoption and Safe Families Act did is it provided this incentive check to the states to be able to farm children out to strangers. And here's another important aspect of that. That was tied to poverty until 2008. And you can look at this entire chart of ASFA, and there were some states getting ASFA money, and then in 2008 they removed the poverty requirement. And if you look at the statistics there, that's when it exploded. And I also explained to people that this is the secret middle class welfare program that you don't even know about coming out of your Social Security check, because they continue to get a per diem, they continue to get the monthly stipend, they continue to get free care, and I mean there's all kinds of other benefits they get, and this money they get is non-taxable. So if you look at that protected payments, the adoption protected payments, it is now 3 times what the foster care money is.
Really?
So yeah, for instance, I'm in Tennessee, and so you can look at the foster care money that's coming in, and it's about $6 million a month, and the adoption money is about $20 million a month. So we have now this exploded welfare program going on in the middle class. And so many of these children come from poor families. And I want you to think, if a poor single mom had $1,200 a month and free health care for her child, would she have been able to cover some of the gaps that came in housing insecurity, food insecurity, educational insecurity, et cetera?
Give the money back to them.
So our producer brought up this great story that you told about a mom in a trailer, and she had her child taken away. They lived in a home that didn't have they had a hole in the trailer, and they didn't have air conditioning, so they took the kids away.
To follow to that, what is the first step a parent can do, a mom or dad, if their child is taken away unjustly.
Yeah, so let me just touch on that first, because I've represented so many. I've reached out. I've had thousands of families that I've dealt with. So, you know, some people out there, I'm a little nervous because we are in a time where there's a lot of people saying the wrong thing out there on social media, right? And so I say, don't shut the door on them. Tell them you will cooperate. Because if you shut the door on them and walk away and say, go away from here, you need a search warrant, I did nothing wrong, well, you're immediately going to trigger them to go get a warrant to take your child, right?
Well, should we
So
let
what
them
should
in?
we say?
No, I don't want them. Well, I don't want them in your house, but you should answer the door. They have to see your child to make sure your child's not all bruised up, locked in a closet, whatever, starved to death. Bring your child to the door and say, here's my child. You can see my child's okay. I will be happy to cooperate with you. I will participate in the investigation, but I want, number one, the opportunity to talk to either an attorney or to participate in the investigation with somebody present, either an advocate, a family member, just so long somebody else has got eyes on it.
Good.
And record everything. Good. Video record, audio record, you know, when they're there right then, take pictures of them, ask for their names, make sure you identify them by name. You need to become the investigator if you are being investigated, right? Who are these people? What are they saying? What are the allegations against me? So you want to cooperate with boundaries, okay? And you want to engage with them and start having these discussions about the allegations made against you, but you need it recorded. You need we do a lot of Family Forward Project. We do a lot of training and stuff on how to engage with that. We have people who will engage in those conversations with you with C.P.S. Nice. So you want to cooperate. Now, on this particular family, I was heartbroken over this case. And you know, they stripped my license from me because I was too aggressive. But in that particular case, I had a young mom and dad, both disabled. Mother had deformed hands. She was clearly disabled. Father had some had some mental health. He was educationally slow, okay? And they had two beautiful girls. Beautiful. Red hair, green eyes, fair complected, 100% healthy, and they lived in a trailer on disability. And their disability this is about 10 years ago now, but it was like $1,400 a month or something ridiculously low. But they were paying for their trailer, which was about $400 a month. But they didn't have a car. They missed a doctor's appointment, and C.P.S. ended up getting called on them. And when C.P.S. came out, there was a hole in the floor of the trailer, and their air conditioner had gone out. And so DCS took their two children away from them,
Wow.
Gave them to a foster parent to raise, paid them $3,500 a month.
C.P.S. got called just because they missed a doctor's appointment?
Yes.
But they wouldn't give them money to provide
this
the
is the
support
big
for them.
part
That's
to
the
it.
part that bothers me.
Yes.
All this money is out there. They give you money to take the child, but they wouldn't give them money to fix the floor or put air conditioning in there.
What would $3,500 done for this
Absolutely.
family?
What would $1,000?
Right.
I mean, you fix those holes. What would $1,000 have done? Or even providing them, you know, some type of transportation. I mean, we have for disabled adults, for instance, we have buses. Most communities have buses that go pick up disabled adults, take them to doctor's appointments or whatever. This was a small community, did not have a whole lot of resources. But what would have happened if a church member would have said, hey, just, you know, I'll be your support person. I'll pick up your kids. I'll pick you up when you need to go to the doctor's appointment.
This is another really good solution we need to offer. You need to know your neighbors, and you need to the church needs to really understand what the needs are within the church. I just want to mention some of the things that children are being taken for, because I don't think moms understand just how diabolical this is. So they're being taken for medical misdiagnoses, for a teacher you disagree with, a home needing repair. This is crazy. If someone comes and they fix your plumbing and they decide that there's something wrong that they don't think is right in your home and they report it, maybe it was just a bad day, mom was sick and there were clothes all over the place, you know, and then you lose your kids. But the thing is, once they're in the system, it is near impossible to get them out.
Well, and truancy is my big gripe right now, because they will take children for truancy, and truancy in Tennessee is 3 days. So if you have, and teenagers, oh, I hate to say this, I've raised teenagers, I have teenage grandchildren, but teenagers can be very difficult sometimes. And if you get in a fight with your teenager and your teenager starts skipping school, and I had this happen to another family in Tennessee. One child was truant and had not gone to school properly, and they came and took all 3 children from the home, including a 15-month-old baby.
Oh my gosh.
Connie, I along with this, I would say that another big movement of C.P.S. coming and taking children from their home, and this is another guest that is on the show, is that you're not affirming a gender change in a child. And this has got to be a new arena for you.
Yes.
Talk to that, because I think that is a big thing that moms are terrified that are watching, because if their child's going through a gender identity crisis, and C.P.S. is called, holy cow.
Yes, and we know, I have worked with a gentleman out of Texas his ex-wife was a pediatrician, and she transitioned his little boy to a little girl, and they totally took the child away from him. And I mean, they didn't put him in C.P.S. custody, but I am concerned now. In Tennessee, that hasn't quite sprung up, but I do know in some states, like in California and some liberal states, that failing to affirm is emotional abuse.
In Maine, they're trying to pass it in Illinois. It's like flooding the country.
What's our legal stats on that? I mean,
well, so Tennessee was one of the lead states that did make a finding. They were part of that Supreme Court case that upheld the gender hormone treatment, right? That you cannot do the gender hormone treatment. So there is some movement there. I know in Tennessee this year there was a proposal that it would not be abuse for you to not affirm a gender that is not the biological sex of your child. I am very active at a state level, and I really want to encourage your audience and your members to look at state activation. There's things that I've tried to get a federal law passed. I have a federal law for family advocates, and we've got a great sponsor, Barry Moore, out of Alabama, great conservative, but it is so hard to get a bill passed in Congress. But you can develop relationships at the state level, and we can, organize, because if you get it passed in one state, you're more likely to be able to go to a second state.
I'm really glad that you said what you said about not being aggressive and everything, because they look for that.
Yes, they do.
And I had like I said, several moms who've been in this situation, and one of them, I was just like, you just need to fight this, and she's like, I really don't want to fight this. And I realized it's easy for me to say that because it's wrong. We know it's wrong, but they don't give you any way to make it right. They threaten you with everything. You have no voice in the court system,
and they make you angry, and then they write down,
yes, that you were angry,
that you were angry, right? And you won't admit that you abused or neglected your children, right? And so that counts against you.
Yeah, well, it used to be about protecting children from neglect and abuse, and again, reunifying.
Right.
And now it's putting them in homes where they're being neglected and abused.
Right.
And I wish that moms could understand how close this is to them. And so one of the things that you said when you mentioned a number, I think it seems like a big number, when you say 1 in 10, that 1 in 10 children are taken from their parents in this country, that is scary.
Well, it is. And also, I used to say within 6 degrees of separation, everybody knows somebody who's been involved. I now say within 3 degrees of separation.
Really?
Because if you speak the words, if you're out there, it may be your hairdresser's sister, it may be the checkout guy at the grocery line's daughter, okay? And that is why we need to speak the truth on I don't know, we need buttons or something, right? Just like, the government stealing children or whatever. We need some conversation starters, because this is so, and because the people who are affected, they're embarrassed. They're ashamed. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't want people to think I abuse my children. So here's another stat for you, for people to look at, to understand why this is not all physical abuse. 250,000 children are removed and taken from their parents. There are not, I promise you, 250,000 parents prosecuted criminally every year. I promise you that.
Sure.
The criminal stats don't match the removal stats. And so you have to say, why is that?
Right. Well, Rachel Bruno was on the podcast for Moms for America. Her story, she had a night nanny that dropped the baby, and she was...
I know Rachel
right?
very well. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
you represented her. Are they winning the cases like a Rachel in general? Is parents' rights still on the forefront of, is the most important, or are they just eliminating parent rights?
Well, so in Rachel's case, so I was not her attorney. I do work very close with her now. She was in California at the time, and she's now in Tennessee. And her case was an accidental injury. And, when she ended up at the hospital with her baby, they had a choice, either investigate the nanny or investigate the mother. Well, if they investigated the nanny, they wouldn't be able to keep the kids, because she didn't have mother didn't have anything to do with it. And so they wanted those children. She had 2 beautiful little boys. Oh, and let me tell you, out of those 250,000 children, 25% of them are 2 and under.
Oh my gosh.
Babies.
So how are we holding these people accountable for children that are taken mistakenly?
Well, they're not. I'll just be honest with you, they are not. They are, I have a law I'm trying to get passed in Tennessee, which is what I call mandatory reporting for state corruption. And so...
You got to get behind that one, Kimberly.
Yeah, so I really want this to be followed. It passed in South Dakota, and the very first person they arrested was a C.P.S. worker for falsifying records. And what this law says is that if you're a state employee and you have information about somebody who's a state employee committing a crime or government misconduct, you're required to report it to your supervisor, and your supervisor is required to report it to the Attorney General and to law enforcement. And if the supervisor fails to report it intentionally, it is a Class B misdemeanor, because within these agencies, the investigation never goes outside the agency, right? And they don't want the agency to look bad, and they have trouble keeping caseworkers anyway. Caseworkers are rampantly falsifying records, rampantly falsifying drug screens, right? Perjuring themselves in courts. And I put together a perjury prosecution on a caseworker who came to court and lied, and the police refused to investigate it, and the DA refused to prosecute it. So we have got to get more accountability and transparency at the state government level.
Thank you, Connie.
This is it's a heavy topic, but I love that you offered so many great solutions. So thank you for coming on the show and talking about this and informing our moms about something that we really need to know about. Nothing is more important to us than our kids.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
So when you destroy the family, you destroy the country, says Maureen Steele, author and producer of the documentary Taken, about state-sanctioned kidnapping. It's no surprise that she believes that C.P.S. must be abolished. She's coming up next.
Hello, I'm Josh Mann, managing editor of The Lion. The Lion is an initiative of the Herzog Foundation, and we publish articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. In covering these topics, we also touch on aspects of parenting, family life, faith, government, and other relevant cultural topics. We publish news stories every day, aiming to produce timely, critical, must-read news articles and resources for families, educators, and leaders. Read the latest in education and cultural news at readlion.com. We also offer easy-to-digest daily and weekly email newsletters. Subscribe today at readlion.com/subscribe.
There is power in being a mom because we truly care. Nobody's going to care more about your children than you. And that's what this group is about, is real women getting together to fight real battles for our country.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
And I will tell you, I'm a journalist, but I am a mama bear. And I am a mama bear till the last breath in my body. And that's the most important thing I've ever done with my life.
Never, never underestimate the mother who's protecting her child. She will outfight fear. She will outlast danger. And she will outlove the world. And you surely do not mess with Mama Bear.
You can't push anything on our kids. We will stand up for our kids no matter what the consequences may be.
Moms for America is one of the most important organizations in saving our republic.
There are eyes, there are ears, and they're the most fierce fighters for our kids that we will ever know.
Every mission has two parts, those who give and those who do. And when we come together, we are stronger together in fulfilling that mission. An investment in Moms for America is an investment in the future. And we literally hold the future of America in our hands.
Maureen Steele is a co-founder of American Made Foundation. She has helped ignite nationwide conversation on family rights, due process, and civic renewal. Maureen is also the author of the C.P.S. Pipeline, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping, and she's the executive producer of the documentary Taken, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. Maureen, it is a wonderful blessing to have you on the Mom View today to talk about this very timely topic.
Oh, welcome, Maureen.
Thanks for having me on, ladies. It's great to be here.
So one of the things that I really want to start out with is some of these stories. Your book, we have one on the set here. It's an amazing book, and it is full of stories of some of these families who have lost their children. And I think that most people think that they're coming from homes where these children need to be rescued, but your book tells another story.
It sure does. So 85% of children that are taken come from, are taken on neglect. And neglect is this ambiguous term that can mean a lot of things. You have an angry neighbor that didn't like that you moved the fence line, and they call on your kids, and your kids are gone. They're gone for at least a year. They will take them because they called and said, your kids are outside playing without a jacket on and it's 50 degrees out. And they just come in, and if they catch you, if they knock on your door and they come in and they catch you on a bad day, the house is a little messy, you had an argument with your husband, like you're not presenting the best, they're catching you off guard, you have no idea what's happening. Suddenly you're in a full-blown investigation for being, mom's crying, she's overly emotional, we think we have some emotional problems with mom. It's going to go way beyond the fact the kids are out. It does, and this is what happens, and you just can't get the children back. You're in the machine and you get chewed up. But the kids are taken before there's any charges, there's anything. And even in cases where they know it's a case of mistaken identity, that they have screwed up, they do not give those kids back. They will ride it out for at least a year, sometimes 15 months, before they have to adopt them out. But they will ride it out as long as possible, because this is not about child safety. This isn't about saving children. This is about the destruction of the American family, which is the backbone of society. And this is a money-making machine. This is an $80 billion a year industry that your children and your family get into, and you simply cannot get out, because the judges are complicit, the police officers are complicit. There's all these parasitic agencies that are around C.P.S. where you have, the visitation centers where you have to pay to go visit your own child. And God help you if you don't show up on time to that visit too, because then you're an uncaring mom. Never mind the fact that you're trying to work, you and your husband are trying to work, you got to pay for these parenting classes, then the visitation center, and an attorney on top of all of this. So they put you in this situation where you simply can't keep your head above water, and they set you up to fail. And then when you fail, then they go back to the judge and go, these parents are non-compliant, we move to adopt.
You're saying you have a red mark. That's you have the red mark forever. So if anything ever happens in the future, they just go right back to the system.
Oh, absolutely. And they do that. And it is generational. We have tracked families where, the grandmother, the mother, and now, the child is a new mother, and they just take these kids. They'll take them right from the breast off a mother in a delivery room. We happened to witness it one night, and one of the women forefront of this movement is Melinda Sherwin. She's an incredible court watcher. She's been doing it for 40 years, going into family courts in these adoption situations. She has reams of documents and documented cases. We were actually on a Zoom call with her one night, Kimberly, and we were calling her to talk to her about this, and her granddaughter got taken live on a Zoom call. She was her son had just had a new baby. She's like, wait a minute, I got to grab this call. It was in Vermont. And sure enough, like she put it on speaker and I recorded the whole thing on the Zoom call with her phone on speaker with them, the C.P.S. workers lying. They said the mother had cocaine in her cord blood. Absolutely false, not true. When they got it retested, they found it was a lie. But this is, my next book is State Sanctioned Lies. And it's, I found some whistleblower C.P.S. workers, many of them, who are testifying and stating that they're told to lie, that they will make up stories to keep these kids, and they do it all the time. And with the Chevron deference being overturned in July of 2024, judges are not allowed any longer to just rubber stamp whatever these agencies say, and that's exactly what these judges are doing. As far as I'm concerned, they're nothing but criminals in black robes.
I can't help to think that with all this happening and all the attention is going to ICE separating families when the real separations are happening here in the United States to our American families.
Oh, 100%. You are so right.
And you're saying CPS completely abolish it. You don't even, there's no way of even saving this. You're saying scratch it, figure out something else, and that they're not going after the real abusers.
No. There's so many instances where the abusers are, or the kids go to the wrong parent. And again, I believe, and from the interviews I've conducted, is that they do that on purpose. So you have a mom and a dad, and in some cases, it's a little dicey, the situation, but they'll deliberately give the child to the bad parent, knowing the good parent is going to keep,
what we hear all the time.
Yeah, so the good parent's going to keep going back to court and fighting, but that's more money. It's more money, more money, more money. And they'll put the hardworking mother or the hardworking father running through all these hoops to get their child back with these classes that cost tens of thousands of dollars, with people that have no credentials to even being offered, to give these classes, people that aren't even parents giving parenting classes, the whole thing, the whole system is so beyond absurd. It's so beyond corrupt. It's wildly corrupt. And it's corrupt on so many levels with these parasitic organizations that are not incentivized at all to go, this woman, she's a great mom. You don't need to keep her kids. That's not what they're incentivized. They only get paid federal funds, state funds, and you're paying them on top of it as the parent, the accused parent. They're making money for all of that. There's no incentive to go, everything's good here. Like this mother doesn't need to be in here taking these classes.
No, it's a path to adoption, and these kids could never be adopted, and they're going to keep getting money knowing that they're on the path to adoption. But I know you guys are working on a state law to try and help.
Well, yeah, we're doing that in all the states, getting state leads in every state that has established relationships with legislators, senators, Congress from each state to support these bills and get it in, because what we're doing is we're living on statutes, and that's what is imposed when these statutes are unconstitutional, and they should be ignored, and they shouldn't be allowed to exist, because the supreme law of the land is the Constitution, and it says you can't have any laws that are repugnant to that. Yet we have them on every book in every state, and everyone looks the other way. The Constitution isn't a dusty old relic that needs to be, left in the basement.
For the children.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. And they try to tug at people's heartstrings. Exactly. You got to save children. Right. But what people need to understand is they're not saving children. They are harming families. These children are immediately medicated. Big Pharma is involved in this. Sure. Hospitals and doctors are involved in this. The medical kidnapping that is going on in every state in this country through children's hospitals, I want to say, which is heartbreaking.
And how they're getting medicated as well, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, Seroquel, I'm talking like psych meds that are enough to tranquilize an elephant. They're giving to a 7-year-old. And it's sight unseen. These doctors don't even see these children. 85% of them are medicated immediately as soon as they're put in foster care. And the kids can't sleep, they give them sleep meds. So that's enough for a growing, developing brain to mix these children up. And this is what they're doing. So the kids, they want heads in beds. That's what I've been told from some of the whistleblowers. That's what they call it, heads in beds. And they only get paid for heads in beds.
I want to just talk to, we had a gal that was on our team, same situation, they gave the children to the unfit parent because there was a dispute in this marriage and a problem in this marriage. Family court system, I mean, this is another whole big problem because you don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
What about family court system?
Oh, the
What's
family
happening there?
court system needs to be abolished as well. You talk
Right.
about another unconstitutional system there, where the rules of civil procedure do not apply.
Right.
The traditional rules of evidence do not apply. It is the only court in the country that allows hearsay. Like I mentioned, you can call someone and say, "Oh, this mother's neglectful. Her child's out front playing with no jacket." No one sees that. They'll just come, and by the time CPS gets there, it's days later or the next day. They didn't see it. They didn't witness it. Yet they will remove those children based off hearsay. They will, the judge will get an ex parte order from a CPS worker, an emergency order to remove those children based on the possibility that something might happen in the future. My dining room table right now, ladies, I have a pile of CPS documents, and most of them are wrought with lies written by the CPS workers saying that the Rivera case is a classic example. We did a documentary on it, saying that, the father, Izzy Rivera, has a severe mental illness, and it's throughout all the documents in that pile of paper. They keep talking about his severe mental illness. So I was thinking, maybe we had finished the documentary, and I was thinking, honestly, like, does he? And like, we've put out this beautiful documentary believing him. So I called him immediately. He's never even been to a therapist. He's never been diagnosed with anxiety, never mind some serious mental health disorder. And so those were the papers that they used to get the emergency order from the judge, who just rubber stamped it, no questions asked, to remove 5 children because one child at 9 months old didn't get a vitamin K shot, which we're all mothers. They give you that at birth.
Wow.
And they say so you don't bleed out. The percentage of children that might be hemophiliac at birth is like 1 in a million. But they give every child this vitamin K shot, and if you don't do it, you're a bad parent. And so they refused it at birth, and then at the 9-month visit, this Dr. Gohafar, in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, threatened the father, if you don't give this shot, I'm going to 5150 you, call or 51A, 51A, file this report with DCF. And that was all it took. 3 weeks later, all 5 children were removed from this family, and those kids were gone for 10 months. These 5 kids. I have audio tapes of these children screaming to their mother on the phone, "Mommy, I want to come home. Mommy, please." To hear that, it is so traumatizing, and the parents are traumatized, the children are traumatized, and you're just never the same after that. And you also know they're looking over your shoulder, so you can't really parent your children anymore because one word,
Right.
that they don't like, when kids get the teenage years and, "Oh, my mom's a jerk," or "My dad, grabbed me last night." That's all it's going to take now is just them saying something like that to
Any
a teacher.
kind of family
These
drama.
these kids are gone again. So you can never live normally again after that. You're always on the edge of your seat, looking over your shoulder, and that's just no way to live. And that's not a free country. When you're afraid, your kids can get ripped out of your house and you're powerless, and they're going to make up lies about you, and there's no justice system that's going to ensure that what you're being accused of is indeed true.
Right.
We have a fundamental right to parent our children in this country, and these judges do not care.
Right, because to your point, in the family court system in America right now, there's no jury, there's no presumption of innocence, rules of evidence are routinely ignored, hearsay is accepted, what you were just saying, affidavits are rubber stamped, parents are silenced under threat of contempt, children are removed without warrants, parents are accused without cross-examination, and rights are determined without trials.
Absolutely.
It is chaos.
Oh, it absolutely is. And when you think
That's no free country.
No, it isn't. And when you think of your most precious possession, it is your children. And our Constitution says you can't remove, people's possessions without a trial by jury, and they don't have it. And what's worse, too, is you're given a half an hour for some of these hearings. Present your case in 15 minutes, because the other side only has 15 minutes. You can't.
Or maybe not even be able to afford an attorney. That's what we've heard
this
too,
is where it gets worse. Because when you think about it, that is devoid of due process as well. They'll give you a state-appointed attorney. So let me see. The judge works for the state.
Yeah, put it together for us.
The prosecutor works for the state. The CPS workers that are the witnesses, they work for the state, and now they're going to give you a lawyer. And by the way, they work for the state too. So it's a total conflict of interest. This is an absolute cluster, and they try to say that this is justice. This is a broken system. It's beyond repair. And these family courts just are all about money and destroying our great American family. And we can't make America great again without the American family being great again.
You said you wanted to
Absolutely.
abolish CPS, and I started to really think about that. And I was like, why do we even need CPS? Because if there is a crime, then you're the criminals, the parents of the criminal, they're actually abusing whatever, then there's penalties for that.
Yeah.
And there's family members who you could go to. I can't think of a reason why we even need child protective services.
I don't
what's
think
the
so,
answer?
not in this day and age. I 100% agree with you. I think everything needs to go back to the states and back to the village. You know, like you said, there's family there, call the grandparents, churches. Even if you did need a home in a state that was run, it would be so much better off run by a board of directors made of mothers and you all. I would rather see that than the federal government and these government workers that are just raking in the dough and they don't care. So there might be a need, but we can fix it on our own and run it on our own, fund it on our own as we the people, and that's what needs to happen. These are our children, and we need to ensure their safety. But the running success rate right now in Massachusetts is 1%. They have a 1% success rate, and if they took your child, that they did it lawfully, legally, and it was for just cause. 1% success rate. That's beyond repair.
I want to cut the federal funding altogether. I think that would make a major blow on this whole system. Take the money away.
Right. But I mean, it's like that with every corrupt agency we're dealing with right now. We saw it with USAID, when we see all the money that's moving around, and it's moving around with everything. But, the foster care system, the courts, the children, this all links back to the border. I mean, once you start pulling these threads, it all links up, and it's all about our children, our greatest
Broken homes,
resource, and they're just taking it. So, you can kind of watch the pattern when, in the 60s was the bra burning, the women get out there and work. And then in the 80s, a lot of women started divorcing husbands, waiting for the kids to graduate high school, and they get back out in the workforce. And then in the 90s, it was like, why do you want to be home? Get out there and work. And what it did, that encouragement, and it was funded by the government, these campaigns. And, and they were working on our psyches and making women feel useless for staying home. When what more important job could you do than raising a human being? There is no more important job than that. And mothers should be revered for that. And instead they were made to feel like there's better things to do. So this was a very long campaign. I mean, the government plays the long game here. And, now women are just starting to want to be home again. And it's starting to reverse because that pendulum swings and it's going to correct. And we're in that correction phase right now, but it's not happening fast enough. And a lot of these mothers that are homeschooling, that are living on these organic farms and
they're targets.
They're absolutely targets. They're having their kids ripped away from them because they don't want a vaccine, or they're saying that she's not teaching her kids properly. This is who's being targeted because they don't want other people doing it. They want your kids.
And unfortunately, they make it about the vaccine, but that's not what it's about. It's about whether or not you have the right to determine whether or not your children are going to have any kind of medical care.
Absolutely, and you have a right as a parent to do that, and they strip you of that right. And so they make the state determining, whether or not your child needs surgery. The medical kidnappings that are happening are really horrific. There was a little boy, Jonah, and a beautiful family on a beautiful organic farm. He had cancer, St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I was crushed. It was one of my favorite charities, and it was one of their satellite hospitals, and they reported this family to C.P.S. and lied and said that the parents hadn't given this child any chemo. Not only did he get all of his chemo, they were spending $5,000 a month in alternative modalities to keep him strong. They got a functional medicine specialist that this woman specialized in helping your child thrive through cancer, to give them vitamins and peptides and a special diet so that the chemo, which is what kills most people, not the cancer, wouldn't affect his organs so much. He was thriving through it. He was too healthy. He wasn't dying fast enough for the doctors. And so they accused these parents of all sorts of horrible things. Pacific Justice Institute that we work with, they jumped in and helped this case along with American Made Action. But it was what a beautiful family, and they were absolutely terrified that their son was going to get removed, and he very well could have. We did a very big public campaign, and that's one of the things we find is helpful. They love operating under cover of darkness. They don't want to be outed. So when you're public about it and you're, on air showing the judges, you're writing articles, you're publishing it, journalists are calling, going, we heard this is what you're doing. Of course, there's never a comment from the other side, but all of a sudden things start falling back into place because, there's eyeballs on it and they just don't want it.
Evil can only thrive in secrecy and darkness.
That's
I
right.
love that you said that. And that's why we want these stories
exposing.
told, and why I felt it was really important that we talked about this. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on and for your book. I want to tell everybody about your book.
Where do
Hold
we
it up
get it
there
at?
so we can, you can get it. I bought mine on Amazon, so wherever you
And
get
your website
books.
as well?
Yeah, so it's C.P.S. Pipeline, State Sanctioned Kidnapping. Barnes & Noble has it. Amazon has it. And we also have our movie, Taken, State Sanctioned Kidnapping. That you can watch for free. You can download that off AmericanMadeFoundation.org. And then we have AmericanMadeAction.org. That's where we do lawsuits, and we have our activism side there.
Give us the name of your movie again.
Sure, Taken, State Sanctioned Kidnapping. And the book is C.P.S.
Excellent.
Pipeline, State Sanctioned Kidnapping.
Well, we'll make sure and put it on the screen too when we do the show. Thank you so
Great.
much for coming, and
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you.
for writing the
Thank
book
you,
and for your passion for this cause, because I am
what
very
you're
passionate
doing.
about it too. We definitely share that.
Thank you.
More of the Mom View after this break.
It's hard work being a mom today. So it is very important to have an organization that really cares about moms.
The role of parent is the most powerful position in the world because we've been entrusted with the souls of our future leaders. And if you're wondering how you could really wrap your mind around these principles and how you can put feet to your faith, I would definitely recommend that you find out more about, support, and get involved with Moms for America.
The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education so that families and culture flourish. To do so, we've created comprehensive programs designed for Christian schools across the nation. One of those programs is found at readlion.com. The Lion carries news articles covering issues especially related to the education of children. These are timely, critical, must-read articles for families, educators, and leaders. Another program is the Herzog Foundation Institute, where we provide training for Christian educators led by national thought leaders in subjects such as marketing, donor development, and culture building. All training events are fully funded by the Herzog Foundation. And finally, with new Christian schools popping up all over the country, we've created a free online resource to help with the process. HF Schoolbox provides lessons and free mentorship to help launch groups navigate the startup process every step of the way. We're the Herzog Foundation. You can find out more at herzogfoundation.com.
There is power in being a mom because we truly care. Nobody's going to care more about your children than you. And that's what this group is about, is real women getting together to fight real battles for our country.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
And I will tell you, I'm a journalist, but I am a mama bear. And I am a mama bear till the last breath in my body. And that's the most important thing I've ever done with my life.
Never, never underestimate the mother who's protecting her child. She will outfight fear. She will outlast danger. And she will outlove the world. And you surely do not mess with Mama Bear.
You can't push anything on our kids. We will stand up for our kids no matter what the consequences may be.
Moms for America is one of the most important organizations in saving our republic.
There are eyes, there are ears, and they're the most fierce fighters for our kids that we will ever know.
Every mission has two parts, those who give and those who do. And when we come together, we are stronger together in fulfilling that mission. An investment in Moms for America is an investment in the future. And we literally hold the future of America in our hands.
Welcome back. This has been a very informative show. Surprisingly, I actually feel a little more empowered that there are things that we can do to counter this.
I mean, look at what look at what these two women were doing here. And Maureen, I mean, they are out there on the front lines defending children and exposing the corruption. And I guess basically what I walk away with is that C.P.S. has become a big business.
Yeah.
And it's all interconnected and it's failed. And so we've got to regroup on this because the children's lives are at stake.
I just want to reiterate what I said. You know, when I read that she wanted to abolish C.P.S., I'm like, well, surely we need them for something. And I'm like, no, I can't think of a thing that we need them for. They're just an agency that is now, it has so much power, way too much power. When you can guide whole entire agencies in our government system, state and federally, to kidnap children, and it's all based on whatever you say, and you can lie, deceive, it doesn't matter. Way too much power. It just needs to go.
Right, and I mean, we can turn the other way, right, and ignore it, but when she's mentioned the amount of children being involved in this, I'm thinking maybe a few hundreds, a couple of thousands max, but when she mentions 250,000 children per year, every year.
There's another thing she said about the degrees of being separated, the 2 degrees. And I mean, I'd like to say that I've never met anyone that was in that situation, but I mean, well over a dozen moms that I know personally, and the things that happened to them and the reasons that it happened. I mean, in one case, this little baby, this incredible mother of these 2 beautiful boys, her husband was in the military, we're living in Hawaii at the time, and she was pregnant with her 3rd child. And he's born, he goes into the hospital when he's like, I think it was 7 months old. And there was something wrong where he couldn't swallow. So they did a medical procedure that caused another issue. And because of that issue that was caused, they took their children away and blamed it on the parents. And she couldn't fight it. I was back there saying, fight it. And she's like, I can't. I just need to do whatever they say or I'll never get my children back. Nobody should be in that situation.
No, it's terrifying. My husband, I was just thinking about this. He was lost in family court, you know, between 2 parents. And he always, you know, it was decades ago, but so intimidated. There was such an agenda. And he kept saying, no, I want to be with my dad, you know, and he knew where he wanted to be. And they just would not listen to the child. They tried to intimidate the child, and they're still doing it. It looks like the tactics have gotten even better and bigger, unfortunately.
And just imagine the heartbreak when your child is calling you on the phone and saying, Mommy, why did you give me away? Mommy, why can't I come home? I mean, that just rips your gut out.
Yeah, and then I cannot not think about the language barriers as well, right? As an immigrant myself, having come to the U.S. as a child, I used to live in North Carolina, and I know that in North Carolina, especially, this is just one county, in the school system, there are at least, this is even before I left, 191 different languages being spoken in one county in North Carolina. This is Mecklenburg County. So you have people from all over the world living in the United States, right? And I know I'm not making this about immigration, but America has immigrants from all over the world, pretty much. And so we have immigrants already in the country that are raising families, young immigrants raising young families. And I can only imagine the language barrier. So if this is already happening to American born people here, right? Imagine immigrants coming from all over the world, Europe, Latin America, you know, being here and not being able to understand not just the system, but then there's the language barrier that can also be a huge burden.
Point. You don't even think about all those families that are, because we're all targeted, and the fact that they were targeting, you know, Christians, homeschoolers. I mean, they're targeting the easiest kids to take. I just, and the moms who want to fight. But that was very good advice. It's not the time to fight is not when they're trying to take your kids, because they're looking for you to do that so they can add that to their little dossier. And I've seen several videos of that, but videoing it I think is really good.
Check out both the ladies' resources today. I think
absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us on the Mom View, and we are always here to try and help and support you by talking about the things that matter to us as moms, as families, so that we can protect our children, defend our freedoms, and hopefully make America continue to be a freest, most prosperous nation on earth. So join us next week on the Mom View, and you can always catch us out at themomview.com.